Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Today, I want to talk about my hopes for Nintendo in 2026. I have a couple items that I want to talk about, so let's just start with the first one. Um, I hope that there are no more partial soundtrack releases on Nintendo Music, and I hope that they complete the soundtracks that are currently incomplete on Nintendo Music. So, what do I mean by this? So, currently, there are games like Splatoon 3 that exist on Nintendo Music, but they're missing parts of the soundtrack. And in the case of Splatoon 3, it's like the side order music and the music that was released in like the base game in like the second half or so of the game's lifespan. Nintendo Music only has the first half of Splatoon 3's music, which is bizarre to say the least. So I hope that Nintendo this year commits to going in and just finishing soundtracks that they've started to upload. And then some games have like partial releases, or had rather partial releases, like Kirby in the Forgotten World, or Kirby in the Forgotten Land, excuse me. That game released with like 20 tracks, and they said more would come in 2025, and they did. Except I think that now Kirby in the Forgotten Land, the base game is there completely, but the Star-Crossed World expansion is not there, which doesn't make any sense, especially since by the time later in 2025 happened, Star-Crossed World came out, and that would have been just like the perfect companion to that. So I guess that's a case of going back and fixing, but I hope that Nintendo doesn't add soundtracks that are incomplete in the first place, like they did with Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Special releases like the Metroid Prime 4 special release, for example. I'm okay with that. Kirby Air Riders had a special release. I'm okay with that. What I'm talking about is like these cases where like Nintendo will add a game that's not like just coming out or just releasing. And they're like, here's half the soundtrack and more will come later. Or in Splatoon 3's case, maybe never. Who knows? So that's one of my hopes for Nintendo, specifically Nintendo Music in 26, is that they, going forward, they just release entire game soundtracks in one go. They don't split them up. They don't do partial releases. They just release it. It's all there for you to enjoy and listen to. My second hope for the year is that we get more higher quality games from Nintendo, and that the games that come out have fewer have fewer issues just in general, or the issues that they do have are less controversial. So what do I mean by this? So if we take a game like Mario Kart World, Mario Kart World's a really fun game, but it's controversial not just because of its price, and we'll talk about its price in a minute, but because the world design of the game and the focus on the intermission tracks, or rather routes, is controversial, and some of them are not very, and some of them aren't as high quality. Take like Pokemon Legends ZA, for example. This isn't first party Nintendo, but Pokemon Legends ZA is a good example of this too, where Lumio City is probably the cheapest city I've ever seen in my life. Just it is. So I hope that Nintendo just in this year commits to higher quality games. I forget, I think it was Kit and Krista in the end of December, or maybe it was in late November after Prime 4 came out. They had taken a look at like Nintendo's holiday games, and they were all in like the 70, 80 range. Like there was no 90s, on Metacritic. Like Nintendo's software is in 25 was a little bit average, which is fine. Like not every game can be, a 10 out of 10. But when your only thing that is approaching a 10 out of 10 in the year your console launches is Donkey Kong, and it came out a month after your console launched, um, it's a little bit concerning. So I hope that I'm not asking for more releases, though more releases would be good. I just hope that the releases that Nintendo does have um, will be of higher quality. Like I hope Yoshi in the Mysterious Book is like top tier S tier game. I don't think it's going to be, but I hope that it is. And same for like Mario. Is it Mario Tennis Fever? Like I hope it's an S tier amazing game that everyone's like, you have to go out and buy it and play this game. Like I hope it's that good. I just don't think it's going to be. So that's my second. My third hope is that Nintendo gets better communication about everything. I mean, this was a problem that started. I mean, as really as soon as the Switch 2 was announced. There was not any kind of communication about what the price of Switch 2 was going to be, how pre-orders would work, what Mario Kart World was going to cost, what games were going to cost in general. Um, you look back at this year, and then we went like a whole couple months in the year where it's like, what's coming in the rest of the year? We don't have release dates for anything. Um, are we getting some kind of Nintendo Direct at the end of summer or in fall, and that'll help communicate and clear some of this up? No, we're just not getting anything. Cool. Um, I hope that Nintendo does get better about communicating things in general to their audience and to people and to the media as well. I mean, a lot of these things, like the Mario Kart price, could have been addressed in the media. Imagine if Nintendo had sat down with a couple publications like IGN and been like, "Hey, Mario Kart World is $80. You can save $30 when you buy our bundle, which means you're spending $500 on Switch 2, but you're getting a game with it." Um, that would have like cleared up, and the headlines about Mario Kart costs $100 probably wouldn't have existed for very long. um, so it's things like that. So hopefully, Nintendo just gets better about communicating from a corporate perspective with people not inside the company, with people outside the company. Um, and hopefully they get better about using their own channels for communication in more effective ways too. Um, like there's like for Nintendo Direct announcements, why not put together a little sizzle trailer and release that through Nintendo Today? The day before or something a Nintendo Direct occurs. Or if we're not going to have as many Nintendo Directs in general, like what's the problem with releasing a like an overview trailer for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, or Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave in Nintendo Today, using Nintendo Today for more entertainment release purposes, like the Snowman Mario Winter merchandise collection. I don't know what it was called officially, but in the winter, Nintendo released this very high quality merchandise that featured the Mario characters in like snowman costumes and getup, and it was really cool. But I didn't know it had released until after a lot of it had sold out, because they didn't communicate that it was coming. There was nothing in Nintendo Today about it at all. There was never a press release. It was just kind of this appeared on the website today and knock yourself out, which isn't great. So even for things like that, as Nintendo becomes more of an entertainment company, where things like merchandise collections become more important to them, use Nintendo Today to communicate that. I mean, they do this really well, I think, for the Nintendo Museum. People who pass through the Nintendo Museum sometimes get featured in those interviews in Nintendo Today, where they talk about like some experience that they had with, Nintendo growing up as a kid or whatever. Um, and I think that that's really, really cool. It's really good use of Nintendo today. It keeps the Nintendo Museum, front of mind when you think of Nintendo, when you interact with the app, um, and it kind of connects you with other people. Not connection in the sense of like I'm meeting this person and we have similar interests, but in the sense of that person has similar interests and stories to me, and that is engaging. Um, so better communication about everything is something that Nintendo needs to improve on in 2026. My fourth hope is a personal one to me, and it's if there's one thing I'm going to get right on this, it's probably this. Um, Splatoon Raiders will launch in 2026, probably in summer. It might be a holiday release, but I think it'll be in summer. And I'm hoping that this game is like uber mega successful. The Splatoon series has historically sold pretty well. Um, Splatoon 3 did really well at the start and then very quickly dropped off. But Splatoon 3 was, a sequel game that came out on the same hardware as its predecessor. So a lot of people, or some people anyway, felt like they had played it and done it and didn't need to go to Splatoon 3. And Splatoon 3 itself was a little bit controversial for some of the things that it did. Splatoon Raiders is a spin-off and it's on new hardware. And it'll be one of the early releases in the Switch 2 lifespan ultimately, coming in, within the first 18 months in a relatively low software output for Nintendo. So Splatoon Raiders, I think will be, I hope it releases this year. I think it will. I hope it's extraordinarily high quality and pulls a bunch of, encourages people to upgrade from Switch 1 to Switch 2. Hopefully, it appeals to new Switch 2 owners in general. And hopefully, it brings a lot of people who haven't played Splatoon 2 or 3, makes them aware of the franchise. And when Splatoon 4 inevitably comes out, which probably won't be in 2026, it will get people to play Splatoon 4. So yeah, that's my number 4 hope. My number 5th hope is also kind of related to Nintendo's treatment of their apps. And I'm not talking about their games like Fire Emblem Shadows. I'm talking about like the parental controls app, Nintendo Music app, the Nintendo Store app. Actually, I'm going to talk about this for a second because I've been holding this in for way too long. So last year, Nintendo released the Nintendo Store app. Awesome. Good name. It's the Nintendo Store. Perfect. Except online, in North America anyway, they refer to it as the My Nintendo Store. But you don't need to be a My Nintendo Rewards member to shop at the Nintendo Store. Like it doesn't really have any kind of connection to the rewards program My Nintendo. So why do they put My Nintendo Store in the name of the Nintendo Store when everywhere else it's just called Nintendo Store? I have no idea. This bothers me to absolutely no end. And maybe that's what Nintendo should work on fixing in 2026 is what's their store going to be called? Is it going to be called the My Nintendo Store or the Nintendo Store? Because I have a preference here, and it's for the one that's not related to the rewards program that people don't generally give a crap about. But anyway, the Nintendo Store app is bad. Because it's basically just a web wrapper. You click on anything in the Nintendo Store app and it opens up a Safari page and is like, here's the website to do everything in. And it's like, well, if I wanted to use the website, I'd use the website. I wanted to use the app for a specific reason here. So I hope that and like Nintendo Music is very Android-esque in its design. Like it's very I think people have done like comparisons of like it in like YouTube Music, and they're like, this is probably the same app. Um, and that's not good. There's no like Apple Watch support for Nintendo Music. There's no CarPlay support for Nintendo Music. Um, like I said, the Nintendo Store app is just uh, a giant web wrapper, which is bad. Um, Nintendo Today has like formatting issues, um, where like if you've ever done like Kirby's fortune teller thing, um, like Kirby's like, pick a card, what's your fortune? Um, and then you click on one, you get like some kind of a like, you get like a Gordo, and it's like, your day will be spiky. And it's like, okay. But like that text isn't properly aligned. So it ends up with like words having characters breaking to different lines, and then like just have like a floating letter E on a single line, and then like another line begins, and it's like this isn't a very high quality experience. um so Nintendo, I hope, um takes a look at some of their apps and doesn't treat them as hobbies, and more treats them as legitimate ways to keep people engaged with the Nintendo brand and satisfied with the Nintendo brand, and associates quality with the Nintendo brand. Um, you know, Especially since things like Nintendo Music require someone to have a Nintendo Switch and to purchase um, Nintendo Switch Online, which is an additional $20 a year. Um, so it requires people to buy into their hardware, um, into their own dedicated hardware, um, and people aren't necessarily going to use Nintendo Music if it's a bad quality experience, or if it's a bad experience in general. So there's things like that that I hope Nintendo goes back and cleans up and just makes better in general. For number 6, my final hope for Nintendo in this new year is that Mario Kart World gets a price cut to $70. It will no longer be an $80 game. It will be 70, which is what it should have been from the get-go. Or if it does stay at $80, they'll include like a month of Nintendo Switch Online, included in the box. They'll give you some kind of a code or whatever in the box and be like, hey, thanks for buying Mario Kart World for $80. And here's a month of Nintendo Switch Online for free, so you can play Knockout Tour online. I hope that that's something that they do, because I don't think $80 games are a good idea. Just in general, I don't think people are overly willing to pay for them. Microsoft tried for like 2 releases and realized this isn't working. And they went back to $70 games. Nintendo has only done the one, Mario Kart World, at 80, which is a very bad game for them to have done $80 with in the first place. I don't think they put out anything else that was necessarily worth $80, but I'm sure Nintendo could put out a game that was worth $80. They just haven't done so yet. But I don't think 80 is a good idea. I don't think they should stick to that. I think they should stick at 70. And if they're going to go with 80, they need to include something like Nintendo Switch Online that keeps people, engaged with that game, and hopefully turns them into a recurring customer. In the case of Nintendo Switch Online, if someone gets a free trial, they're probably going to keep subscribing if they like the game. So those are my top 6 hopes for Nintendo in this new year. If you have any predictions for what you hope to see from Nintendo, or what you hope they do in 2026, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.